My so-called life is sponsored by... How's it going? I'm Godless Sewing, and this is the Godless Sewing channel. So today, I'm going to show you how to thread a tiny sewing machine. I know that there's many different brands. I'm going to show you how to thread a Singer Tiny Tailor and a Singer M100. And something kind of strange happened to me recently when I was driving home from my local dispensary, and I'm still kind of in shock. So, as always, strap on, wear a helmet, and let's go sewing! This is my Singer Tiny Tailor. I'm going to show you how to thread this and the Singer M100. There's many models that are exactly the same as this, so if you need any help at all, ask me a question and I'll try to answer it. But first and foremost, when you put your thread on this machine, you want to make sure that your spool is coming from the right side. So it's not facing the machine, it's coming away from the machine. And grab the thread. On this particular machine, it has a thread guide right there, and you want to make sure that you come up underneath, and then that your thread is on top of it, and then you come back down through another thread guide into the tension discs. Always make sure that your needle is in the upright position. This goes through, thread it right through. If I could get it through. Okay, so now I'm pulling it back down and I'm coming through, and there's another thread guide on the needle right here that you can see. I'm gonna pull a needle all the way up. Some people use tweezers, you know, there's all kinds of ways to thread this machine, but I kind of do it by hand. One thing that's important as well is that you want to go from left to right when threading the needle on this machine, because that will cause problems in the future if you go in the wrong direction. Pull it all the way through, you come back through underneath the foot, pull it a little bit, and now you're ready to load the bobbin. So I did not have the easiest time loading the bobbin in here because this machine is tiny and it's plastic on metal. So I can see where a lot of people are having trouble loading the bobbin, but you have to get the thread in between the plastic and the metal or it's not gonna work. So once you have it in place, like any other sewing machine, you can grab the back thread and with a full revolution, the thread, there we go. Oop, are we stuck? Okay. Pull it right through. Okay. And now, make sure the needle's not in place. Pull both pieces and they should go all the way through. There we go. Alright, I have a ton of thread in here. Okay, let's back up a little bit. So, the Tiny Tailor is not necessarily easy to thread, but once you do it, it's worth it because this is a solid machine. So this is my Singer M100. It is the exact same size as the Tiny Tailor, and this is more of a 2000s version of the Tiny Tailor. They made many improvements on the machine, and like anything else, I like this a little bit better. But like anything else, I'm going to show you how to thread this machine. So like before, first and foremost, it is important that your spool is on the outside. That way it doesn't get tangled up when it's going towards if it's going towards the machine. And much like the tiny tailor, you come, actually, unlike the tiny tailor, you come underneath. Oh, did I get it caught? Yes, you go underneath, and then you come back through that one tension guide. You go through the tension discs. You come up, back around, and like the other machine, you put it through right here. You come back down. Now this tension guide is on the right instead of the left. So when threading the needle, you would thread it from the left instead of the right. But it doesn't matter because this one is in the middle. Okay, so I have it in a position. I have to bring it in to see it. Okay, so I threaded the needle. And this thing has all kinds of guides, so I'm going to come back around through here. Okay, so once you have the needle threaded, I'm going to come back through the foot. And just like the tiny tailor, putting the bobbin is actually important, but because this is a bit of an older machine, it's a little bit easier. A newer machine is a little bit easier to thread. On all sewing machines, when you thread a sewing machine, one of the most important things is having the bobbin thread coincide with the machine. So as always, you do one full revolution and the thread comes through. There we go. I forgot my scissors. So tradition at this point. And then you come through and you're ready to sew. You know, sewing isn't necessarily the easiest thing in the world. So I understand the frustration when you're trying to thread something like a tiny sewing machine or a sewing machine in general. But it's always rewarding when you finally get the machine threaded properly and it works. So I'd encourage you to keep sewing. So I finally brought a stray home. Yesterday, I was minding my own business, driving home from my local dispensary, and I saw this sewing machine on the side of the road. I know it sounds crazy, but here in Los Angeles, people dump trash anywhere they can. My dispensary's on the industrial side of town, so I wasn't necessarily surprised that this was, you know, on the side of the street in a pile of clothes and broken beds and stuff. But the one shocking thing was that I actually had the plugs for it. So instead of talking about it, let's go check it out. But before I plug it in, I'm gonna clean it. I left this outside last night so any bugs or any spiders living inside of it had a chance to escape before I brought it in the house. Like I said, this is definitely the first sewing machine I've ever brought home from being on the street. And it was kind of weird, but after I thought about it, like I said, there's trash everywhere here. I'm surprised there's not more sewing machines on the street. I kind of lucked out. This is a 2000 something machine, I can tell. There's like this weird black gunk on it. I don't care. It's kind of coming off. But after I give this thing a decent cleaning, I'm gonna plug it in and see if it has any issues. So after a little research, I found out this is a Singer 7426. It's from the early 2000s, around 2007, 2008, and it's a computerized sewing machine. I kind of actually completely scored when I found this on the street, and I'm still kind of shocked that it turned on in general. So let's see if it works. And you know what? This one has character. It has stick marks. It's exposed from sitting out in the sun. So I am definitely going to add stickers to this one. It fired right up. Who knows how long it was sitting there out on the street. It's missing the bobbin case cover. For a stray, it threw up a perfect stitch. Well, welcome to the fleet, kid. And like I always say, stay creative and keep sewing. Next week on My So-Called Life, you know, breakups are hard on everybody. Recently, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and every other kid in the 90s had to find somebody else to vicariously live through. I'm here to remind you that MC Hammer still exists. Not only did MC Hammer give us some of the most iconic dances ever, but MC Hammer also gave us the greatest pants that were ever invented in the history of pants. And I know they're called harem pants. They existed before MC Hammer. But I have to ask you a question. Did they really exist before MC Hammer?
Move it up! Come on! MC Hammer motherfucker!
You know, I'm just happy that this sewing machine found a good home. I hope my tutorial on tiny sewing machines helped. And if you have any questions at all, just put it in the comments and I'll answer. And if you've made it this far, I thank you. As always, reinforce your seams, be yourself, and I will definitely see you next time.